Alrighty then, can anyone out there hear me? Alrighty then, can anyone out there hear me? Alrighty then, looks like we got some people coming in. Welcome to the 10,000 subscriber Q&A celebration stream. Basically what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to be live streaming for about an hour, and I'm going to let you guys fill the chat with various questions or things you wanted to know about me or my show or my channel, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Oh man, looks like we got some friends in the chat. Nice to see you, Mikey Insanity. We got to hang out again. It's been a while. Oh, wow. Fill the chat, people. Fill it. Spread the link. Let's get this out there. Thank you. The beard and mustache was one of my big changes that I decided to make this year. I decided to grow it. I had been wanting to do it for a while, and I figured, you know what? Why not just go for it? And so here we are. The worst movie I reviewed. That is a tough call. I'd have to think about that question because I know that there's like some stuff I vlogged that was pretty bad. What got me into horror originally? Oh man, late night TV got me into horror originally. Back when I was a kid, you would like turn on the Sci-Fi Channel and you just watch all these like really crappy old horror movies. And there was also horror hosts and things like that I would watch. But on top of that, I also attribute a lot of my horror love to my grandpa, who when I was like, God, I think I was like in first grade or something, he showed me Aliens, and it completely blew my mind, and I ducked under doorways for months on end after that. Oh, man. Have you watched Zombies? I have not watched Zombies, but I've heard some pretty glorious things about it. I probably should at some point. Trauma or Full Moon? I lean on Trauma there. I love Full Moon, but I mean, Trauma has the Toxic Avenger. It has Poultrygeist. You can't beat it. Let's see. How old am I? I am 29. Yep. What is your current favorite 2017 movie at the moment? Get Out, followed by The Belko Experiment currently. What's your opinion on Mystery Science Theater? I love Mystery Science Theater, and I am slowly working my way through the return of Mystery Science Theater, and so far, it's been pretty great. What's going to be your next review, non-vlog, and when? Okay. I'm currently working on a review of Basket Case, of all things. Hopefully I will do a review of all three of them this year, but right now I'm only focusing on the one because you guys have seen how long it takes me to do these episodes. So like trying to pre-plan doing multiple ones, it's like planning for failure. So right now I'm just working on this one. Alrighty then. Sexiest horror movie monster. Ooh. Is it too easy to go with the Species chick? Because she's pretty hot. At least in the original two movies. Like I didn't think the actresses in the other ones were quite as great as the original two. Let's see. What do you consider to be the best metal albums released this year? Bar none, the best metal album I have listened to all year has been Creator's Gods of Destruction. It is a fucking thrash masterpiece with a whole bunch of Nawabum love, and I have been spinning that thing over and over again. With my second favorite album probably being Body Count. Their new album, Bloodlust, is fantastic. It is great. Thank you, Joe Star, for the super chat. I'm gonna give you a shout out right now because that is awesome. You're Madame Obscura. Thank you, Madame Obscura. Oh man, will you marry me? I don't know if a proposal through a chat is the right way to go with this. I'm sorry. Sorry. What is your favorite horror movie slasher? Ooh. Oh, man. I'm tempted to say Michael Myers because Halloween was the slasher franchise that I first got into and I was obsessed with. But it's hard not to say Freddy Krueger for the simple reason that it's Freddy. He has the most personality out of any slasher killer ever. And then it's hard to not go for some obscure ones, like the Prowler is pretty badass. So I'll probably go with those three right now, and with Michael Myers at the top, just because he was the one that really got me into slashers. Do you want to work with other YouTube channels like Decker Shadow? I would love to. My only problem is because it takes me so long to make videos, I'm always weary about working with other people because I don't want to like drag them down with how long it takes me to do stuff. I always feel bad when people ask me for cameos and it takes me forever to do it because I forget or I get wrapped up in something else and then I end up giving the cameo late. So doing that for an actual crossover video is troubling, though the one I did with Wrestling with Regret, that one we actually turned around pretty quickly. So if I can do a crossover that quickly again, I'd totally be down for it. How did you get into doing YouTube? I was a fan of a bunch of old YouTubers who eventually moved from YouTube and then came back to YouTube. I was a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd. I was a fan of Spoonie. I was a fan of the Nostalgia Critic, and I got into making videos from going to the channel Awesome Forums, which was the forums for the Nostalgia Critic, and I got into doing videos on there. And originally it was on a platform called Blip that ended up falling apart, and then I just migrated it to YouTube when Blip fell apart. How did Count Jacula and I meet? We met on the very forums that I mentioned a second ago. We met on there, and it turns out that we lived not far from one another, so the rest is history. Do you like Red Letter Media? Fuck yeah, Red Letter Media. I especially love their Best of the Worst videos. Those things are... When I am tired and it's late at night and I'm feeling kind of depressed, putting on those videos always cheer me up. My favorite non-horror movie. All right, True Romance. I don't know if any of you out there have seen that. It is a movie that was directed by Tony Scott and written by Quentin Tarantino, and it came out in the early 90s, and it's basically about this guy who falls in love with this prostitute and then gets on the run from both the law and the mob, and they end up going to Los Angeles and getting in a bunch of firefights, and it's really bloody, and it's really fucked up and romantic, and it's got a really great scene with Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper that is just like, it's cinema perfection. Oh yeah, Death Race 2050. I've actually been wanting to do a vlog on that for a while. I just haven't gotten around to watch it. So hopefully I can get around to that soon. Because I've been looking for movies to watch to get back into vlogging for the next month. And that one would be great to put on my list. My favorite horror game? I know this one is... I know I probably should say stuff like Resident Evil or Silent Hill because those are the old school classics, but personally the best horror game I played, in my opinion, was Dead Space. I love Dead Space. It was just the perfect combination of all the science fiction horror movies I love. It had Alien, it had The Thing, it had Event Horizon. It was great, as well as a little 40K. I mean, who doesn't like a little 40K? Oh, Ron, thank you so much for the super chat donation. That is wonderful. I have not watched the Drunken Peasants podcast. I believe that's the Amazing Atheist podcast. I actually haven't watched it. Like a lot of people, I only checked out the clip when that whole controversy with Milo Yiannopoulos happened. That was basically my first exposure to that podcast. Have you got around to watching the new MST3K on Netflix? I've been slowly working my way through it. I'm currently on the third episode because I end up watching it in 10-minute segments because the thing ends up inspiring me to start working on my basket case review. Because MST3K was one of the shows that pretty much inspired a lot of the things that people who make videos like me do, are these kind of like riff review hybrids. Like MST3K was one of the original sources of inspiration for that kind of stuff. So watching the revival has really put me back in the mood of doing these fun reviews. So hopefully I can get a new cinema episode out soon because of that, because it's actually sped up the process a little bit. Would you consider Inland Empire or Mulholland Drive horror films? Ooh, that's a tough call. It's easier to say that for Inland Empire. Mulholland Drive, I have a harder time saying, but I wouldn't put it. I would understand if anyone would, because Mulholland Drive is definitely a murder mystery, even though it has that twist halfway through. Holy crap, Bryant Grace! Thank you for the super chat donation. That's amazing. Thank you, dude. Oh man, Rock Critic's in the chat. Yo, Rock Critic, nice to see ya. See, what is your favorite horror movie that was made fun of on MST3K? I honestly don't know. I would have to think about that. It's not something I know off the top of my head. I would have to go through and try to remember everything that they reviewed and go like, oh yeah, that one, because they reviewed a lot of Godzilla movies and like kaiju films, and I love kaiju films, so it would probably be one of those, but I'm not sure which one off the top of my head. Yes, I have played Deadly Premonition. Basically, Twin Peaks in video game form with a little bit of Resident Evil thrown in. That game is ridiculous, but I love it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Star Crash episode of MST3K because I love the movie Star Crash, so them making fun of it, that's just perfection. Marvel or DC Comics, I've always been way more of a Marvel person. Ever since I was a kid, I was way more into characters like Daredevil and Wolverine and some of the anti-heroes that Marvel had, whereas DC mainly had Batman when it came to anti-heroes until it like added Vertigo, and then it had a whole slew of characters I really loved. But if it was an argument between DC, Marvel, and Vertigo, Vertigo wins because Sandman rules all. Godzilla or Kong Skull Island? Ooh, I haven't really thought about which one I liked more. Skull Island was definitely the more fun movie, but it doesn't really beat seeing Godzilla on the screen again in that, because we saw it on the IMAX screen when we watched that. Seeing that on an IMAX screen with Godzilla roaring, that got my heart pumping like nothing else. So it might edge out Skull Island a little bit, even though Skull Island was overall the more fun movie. What is my opinion on the upcoming Twin Peaks revival? I'm looking forward to it because I feel like Twin Peaks kind of shit the bed in the end, so it'd be kind of cool to see it come back and it get like a proper ending. Then again, that didn't necessarily help the X-Files. It was just as boring as the last few seasons, unfortunately. Favorite foreign horror films? Well, in my top 10 horror film list, I included a bunch of movies like Black Sunday, so I would probably go with some movies like that. Black Sunday being an Italian horror film. Technically foreign, even though it's dubbed in English, but love that movie. I have not seen Brad Jones's Jesus Bro yet, though I'm looking forward to seeing it when I can. Yes, Gamera was a fantastic MST3K episode. And I love Gamera, so that like a movie like that will probably be one of my favorites when I actually go through the list of MST3K episodes. Most underrated horror film. You see, it's hard for me to judge what horror films are truly underrated for the simple reason that there are many horror films that are beloved by horror fans, and I'm really knee-deep in horror fan culture, that aren't beloved by the general populace, so judging what's truly underrated and what is just kind of unknown is really hard. Like, if you go by online interactions, a lot of people really fucking hate Hostel, but I love that movie. But is it truly underrated? Because horror fans generally tend to like Hostel, so I don't know. Hard to say. Favorite guilty pleasure movies. Almost 90% of my favorite movies I would qualify as also being guilty pleasure movies because I really don't have much of a line between movies I love and movies I feel guilty about. I just kind of love what I love. Yeah, The Prowler is way more obscure than it should be. That is a solid slasher film. If any of you have not seen The Prowler, go check it out. Oh, Avalon, thank you so much for the super chat donation. That's awesome. Candyman is absolutely a fantastic horror film and underrated only in the sense that it's not put up on the same level as Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, even though it is probably better than the original movies of both those franchises. That being said, the sequels to all those other movies are way better than the Candyman sequels. The Candyman sequels are dog shit. Dr. Giggles! I love Dr. Giggles. Guilty pleasure music. Honestly, like, I used to be pretty much a rock and metal guy solely, but recently I've started broadening my horizons and listening to more stuff outside of that. And as a result of that, I've started getting into guys like Kendrick Lamar and some rap artists. And I don't know if I want to call that a guilty pleasure because they're fantastic musicians and they do fantastic work. So calling them guilty pleasures is not right, but I feel a little guilty as like a metal purist. So I guess that's the closest answer I got there. Mexico Barbaro is a great Mexican anthology horror film. I'll have to look that one up. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that one. It doesn't sound familiar. What do you think of Ash versus the Evil Dead? Fuck yeah, Ash versus the Evil Dead. I'm actually really looking forward to when the second season becomes available, and it might already have because I haven't been really paying attention. But when it becomes available for me to buy, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to watch the whole thing and probably do a vlog on it because I love that show. I've only seen the first season, for the record, because I don't have stars, is the problem. Favorite anime that you've seen so far? There's a lot of really great animes, but the one that's near and dear to my heart the most will either be One Piece or Yu Yu Hakusho. Those two just, even though those two are just, they're just shonen animes, they are just, hero goes and fights the bad guy and gets more powerful each time and goes to a new land and there's a new villain, yada, yada, yada. It's the same rinse repeat story every time, but for whatever reason, those two, always struck a great chord with me. Yu Yu Hakusho for really obvious reasons. It's about a guy who hunts ghosts. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've heard season 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead is fantastic. I am really looking forward to checking it out. I can't wait to see the Ash puppet. Favorite One Piece or Yu Yu Hakusho moment? Okay, my favorite One Piece moment is the moment in the transition between the halfway point when they are... God, how do I describe this? It's a really difficult moment in the story to pinpoint, but basically... there is this guy that is considered this god king, and no one is allowed to touch him, and he ends up attacking this fish man, and then Yuffie punches him in the face and starts an all-out war between the pirates and the Marines. That moment right there, where he punches that god guy in the face, that is my single favorite moment of One Piece. Followed very closely from the moment when Luffy yelled at Robin, "Tell me that you want to live. Tell me that you want to live." That was my second favorite moment. As for Yu Yu Hakusho, ooh, yes, the Celestial Dragons. Thank you, Alasia. That's what I meant by the god guy. My brain is forgetting names all of a sudden. Oh, thank you, Kendall, so much for the donation. Oh man, you guys are great. All right, for Yu Yu Hakusho, that's a lot harder to pinpoint what my favorite one is because I kind of love that whole fucking show. It's kind of at the point in the show where it starts to go downhill, but I do really love, and this is really, really stupid, but I really love the fight when Yusuke finds out that he's half demon and gets killed, and then his demon part resurrects him, and then he ends up fighting the other spirit detective who was trying to open the gateway to hell, and they have that big, almost Dragon Ball Z style fight. I love that moment, but I'm not sure if it's actually the best moment of it, but it's the one that came to my head first. That and the death of Elder Toguro. Okay, no, the death of Elder Toguro. That's the best moment of Yu Yu Hakusho, in my opinion. Which is technically not a death, but I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it. What's your opinion on Cowboy Bebop? Cowboy Bebop is anime perfection, and if you haven't seen it, see it. Even if you don't like anime, it is the kind of anime that even non-anime fans will love. Let's see. Hi, Snaggletooth. Welcome to the chat. What's the first horror movie I remember watching? I'm not sure what my first horror movie I remember watching was, but I do remember the one that had the biggest impact on me, and that was when my grandpa showed me Aliens, and I was ducking under doorways for weeks on end because I was sure a xenomorph was going to come down and get me. And it's weird that it was Aliens and not Alien, because you kind of consider Alien to be the horror movie and Aliens to be the action movie, but it was Aliens that freaked me the fuck out. I also remember watching Nightmare on Elm Street as a really little kid and then sleeping on the couch for a good 2 weeks afterwards because I was convinced that Freddy was going to kill me like he does Johnny Depp in the original Nightmare on Elm Street and pull me into the bed. So I figured, oh, I'm safe on the couch, clearly. But that would have totally been ruined had I seen Shocker and learned that no, even couches aren't safe. I have seen Street Trash. Trash is glorious trash cinema, and I love it. Oh, thank you, Jami, so much for the donation. Thank you. Oh, man. Do you prefer mainstream or independent horror films? It really depends on the movie. What I love about independent films is they're allowed to go to more extreme directions than the mainstream films do. Like a movie... But even then, a mainstream film, the Belko Experiment at this point is a mainstream film, but it is super extreme. But as a result of being extreme, it didn't do as well in the box office as something like Get Out did, which is mainstream, but also really well made. And then again, Get Out kind of deserves that success. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. The point is, it really depends on the movie, because what I like about underground films is that underground films go to places that mainstream films usually dare not to. You can't make a movie like a Serbian film with a big budget for a mainstream audience. It's just not going to fly. It's going to be watered down. Would you dye your beard? Maybe if it starts going gray or something, I might do that. I'm not sure. I just don't know what color I would dye it, to be honest. It's kind of like tattoos. I love the idea of tattoos, and it would be cool to get one, but I honestly don't know what kind of tattoo I want. And unless I really, really want something, I don't want to, commit to it, if it makes sense. Now, dyeing hair is not as much of a commitment, but I'll have to live with that for, a month if I don't like it, so... Alasia, I do see your messages. There's just a whole bunch going by at once, so I'm trying to catch the ones I can. The worst horror remake I've seen? Oh, man, what would qualify as the worst? Well, there's probably some that more people have seen that are really bad, but, some of the worst ones I've seen are some of the direct-to-video remakes. I don't know if any of you saw the really shitty Day of the Dead remake that went straight to video. That was pretty awful. That was really fucking awful. And it had no excuse to be, given how good the Dawn of the Dead remake was, or even how good the Night of the Living Dead remake was from the 90s. Martyrs was pretty bad. That was a pretty bad remake. I know a lot of people who love that one, but I don't know if that one was worse than something like The Haunting, though The Haunting was pretty bad. Oh, someone brought up The Haunting. There you go. Josh, what do you think of the Poltergeist remake? I avoided it in theaters, and I've honestly yet to actually check it out because it just looks so bad, and I didn't hear good things about it. And no one I know that is no one I know whose opinion I trust on horror films said anything positive about that movie. Avery Foster asked, Guru, do you ever see Kung Fu Hustle? I love Kung Fu Hustle. Kung Fu Hustle is classic. Kendall Wright just gave me a super chat donation because they too hated the remake of Day of the Dead. Rock on, sir. Would you rather have a dick gun from Dusk Till Dawn or the titty Gatling guns from Machete Kills? All right, I want the dick gun. But my girlfriend, if I have a girlfriend, I want her to have the Gatling guns, the titty Gatling guns. Then we could be a matching set. Yeah. That sounds good. I apparently am unable to speak coherent sentences right now. Thank you so much, Man Without Fear, for the congratulations. Yo, Magna, how you doing? Have you seen the new Tom Savini Jason? Oh, is that the flaming one that was on Twitter? Because if it's the one where he's like slightly on fire, that one looked really cool. I'm totally down with butt cannons, Mr. Shadow. Ryle M, you're saying that my opinion on the Poltergeist remake was the same reaction you had to the Giver film. I also had the same reaction to the Giver film, because I remember reading that story as a kid, and that trailer looked god-awful. Am I going to do live streams like this more often? Maybe. It's really about finding the time to do it and kind of having the space, because I've been rooming with Count Jacula for a while now, and our schedules are all over the place. Have you seen the new Friday the 13th game, and will you be buying it when it comes out or something? I'm still kind of mad about that game shutting down the Kickstarter for the other game that I really wanted to play, but I'm probably going to end up playing it anyway. The Friday the 13th game looks fun, and I like Friday the 13th, so why not? Jacob Matthew Crawford, do you like Bruno Mattei films? Like is a strong word. I enjoy a lot of Bruno Mattei films, but I wouldn't say like I love them the way I do a lot of other bad movies. Most of them to me kind of fail in areas where like a Fulci film succeeds, if that makes sense. We need a Blood Splattered live streams to compete with the Slut Pit streams. Maybe we'll do more Blood Splattered live streams. Unlike Count Jacula, I am far more of an introvert, so talking like this right now I'm not as comfortable doing it, so I'm just hoping I'm hoping it's coming across as charming and not like I'm a complete idiot. Do you or Count Jacula ever sleep? It seems like all you guys do is work, stream, or play Overwatch. Okay. We do sleep. It's just we don't get enough of it, and we don't do it as often as we should. What would Guru's stream group be called? I'm not sure. Any chance you'll be reviewing In the Mouth of Madness? Ooh, that's a really good idea. I'll have to think about that. Horror Guru is my new favorite cam girl. Aw, shucks. Should I start taking my shirt off or something? Make this like chatterbait. I'll probably get kicked off of YouTube at that point. Do you have a PS4? No. The last PlayStation I owned was a PS2. I am not wealthy enough to have purchased most of the modern systems, so I have basically over the last few years become pretty much a PC only person. But believe me, if I could, I'd go out there, I would buy a PS4 right now and buy Persona 5 because I love the Persona games and it's killing me that I can't play 5. Have you checked out Summer Wars by chance? I have not. I'll have to check that out. Have you seen the original House... okay. Have you seen the original House on Haunted Hill with the late Vincent Price? Yes. I have. It is enjoyable. It is fun. Anything with Vincent Price is pretty fun. Will you play Warframe sometime? Maybe. I've kind of been so sucked into Overwatch lately that I can't imagine playing another game. Basically, the two games I play a lot when I'm not playing like a single-player game is something like I play Overwatch and I play Chivalry because I love medieval settings and I love that it's like the only sword-fighting game on the market right now. Though I am really looking forward to another game that's currently being kickstarted called Mordhau, which is another sword fighting game, and that one looks like it's taking it to the next level, so I can't wait to play that. Check out Mordhau if you're into sword fighting games. Oh, hey, Stephanie. How you doing? I'm glad you could make it to the chat. Anyone seen Theater of Blood? I love Theater of Blood. I was actually trying to reference that the other day when I was talking with Jack, because we were talking about how Jack and I often talk about like the etymology of horror franchises and the horror characters, and how Jigsaw is kind of an evolution of what was started with Dr. Phibes. And I was talking about how there was a movie that Vincent Price did that was like Dr. Phibes. It was kind of like a spiritual successor slash parody. And I remember watching it, and it was about him dressing up as Shakespeare characters and killing all his critics. And I'm like, oh shit, it was Theater of Blood. And Jack had not seen it, and so I was like, what the hell, Jack? You're Count Jacula, and you haven't seen Theater of Blood? What the fuck, dude? What the fuck? Horror cred revoked. Oh yeah, whoever mentioned Hammer Horror in the chat, I love some Hammer Horror. It's like all the classic Universal monsters, but done with a lot more cleavage. Yo, Bernardo the Bard. Favorite horror movie released in the last few years. The last few years. Yeah. Who am I kidding? Deathgasm. Deathgasm. Hands down, Deathgasm. Probably followed by The Guest. The worst Rob Zombie movie is probably Halloween 2. Halloween 2 is probably the worst Rob Zombie movie. And I say this as someone who likes the Rob Zombie movies. But his Halloween remake was not as well conceived as we'd like it to be. All right, Alazia, at some point I will play Warframe with you. I know you really want this. Yes, Stephanie, I agree. This stream does need more butts. Do you think The Burning is a superior summer camp slasher over the original Friday the 13th? Ooh. Yeah, I would say, like, categorically, like, if you compare the quality of the two movies, The Burning is a superior slasher movie to Friday the 13th, though the legacy of Friday the 13th is a lot stronger than the legacy of The Burning. That being said, yeah, The Burning is a near perfect slasher. Plus, it's got Cropsy. Do you own any films on Criterion? Fuck yeah. Somewhere in here I have my Criterion of Videodrome, which I want to upgrade to the Blu-ray, and I hope there's a Blu-ray Criterion for it because I have the DVD Criterion of it, and I have a couple other Criterion films, but I think my favorite one is the Videodrome Criterion because when you open it up, it looks like an old beta tape. It's beautiful. Sleepaway Camp is another great one, but Sleepaway Camp is like Sleepaway Camp takes the camp, and I do mean like the camp as in cheesiness, from Friday the 13th and turns it up to 11. That's the thing about Friday the 13th. While Friday the 13th started this whole trend of these cash-in slasher films, a lot of the ones that came after it kind of upped the ante from what it did, and that's why when you look back on it, it doesn't look as exciting as the ones after it, even its sequels. If you could remake any horror film, what would it be? I'm not sure, to be honest. Because if I were to remake a horror film, I would want it to be remade in like the 80s style and not the kind of modern, more glossy style. I would like it to be remade where you do like an old school film that needed to be updated. Like, I would say a good example is like, I think you could remake a movie like Shocker and do it way better today, especially with the internet. But you'd have to at least be willing to do a lot of stuff practically, and even the effects in the original movie don't hold up that well today. So you'd have to see. Man, I just feel kind of rambly. Yes, I have seen Trigun. I remember watching Trigun back in the 90s. Trigun's a classic. If you really like Trigun the anime, I actually highly recommend reading the manga because the anime has its own ending, but the manga keeps going. And the manga gets crazier and crazier as it goes. Goofiest horror movie death? Oh man, that is way too tough a call to be honest. Are there any horror remakes that you would say are better than the original? Okay, all right. I like the Hills Have Eyes remake from 2006 or 2007 a little better than the original Hills Have Eyes, even though I love Hills Have Eyes. I feel like that movie added something by making them these like nuclear beast monsters where they've kind of been mutated. That's a good example of one that I think is better. Obviously, John Carpenter's The Thing is a much more effective horror movie than The Thing from Another World, as much as I love The Thing from Another World. Those are good examples. The Fly is better than The Fly. I'm not sure if I would say Maniac is better than the original one, but it's definitely on par. There's a lot of really good remakes, but there's also a lot of bad ones. Piranha 3D is better than the original Piranha, and I like the original Piranha. Oh, is the stream messing up? Oh no. Can you guys hear me now? All right, cool. Sorry about that. I don't know what was causing the hang up. I'm the only one on the internet right now, so I can only assume it's outside of my control. Thank you, Danny Nightmare. Snaggletooth. Oh, don't worry, man. My thing says you're a $5 reward on my thing, so if that's what you want it to be, that's what it says on mine. So I'm gonna list you in my credits. Did you ever read or see Pet Shop of Horror? Yes. Pet Shop of Horror is fantastic. Now that is a deep cut if you like yourself some animated fucked upness. Would you rather have the cancer gun a la Videodrome or glowing hole in your head a la brain damage? Cancer gun all the way. I don't like my head being fucked with. Yeah, that's a little known fact about me. I don't like when things fuck with my head too much. Like I don't like it, for example, when I'm really sick and having a fever and taking like NyQuil or something, and you like because the combination of the fever and NyQuil, you start having like vivid dream hallucinations. Like I hate that shit. It like freaks me the fuck out. A horror guru horror book? I don't know if I don't know about that. Brendan Tenold is in the chat, and if you have not seen his YouTube page, go check it out. He does a very similar thing to what I do, only better. He is awesome. And if you like Godzilla movies, he's reviewed a bunch of them, if not all of them at this point. Welcome, Moth Angel. Have you seen Dead Alive? Of course I've seen Dead Alive. Dead Alive's great. Or for you people in some of the foreign countries, Brain Dead. Have you seen the anime Perfect Blue? Perfect Blue is perfection? I have. If so, what do you think of it and how closely it is to Black Swan? Actually, I had a theory when I saw Black Swan that Perfect Blue was one of the inspirations for it, and I can't remember if Aronofsky ever admitted to that, but you can see it. You can 100% see it. Unless you were talking about the Black Swan ballet, in which case, yes, that might also be an inspiration. Wormwood is the most fun I've had since Doomsday. Oh man, both those movies are great. Like, I really do not understand the hate Doomsday gets, because I remember when that movie came out, everyone shat on it. It's like, oh, like it takes all these things from all these post-apocalyptic action movies, and it's got no original ideas of its own. So it is a homage to those things, and it actually does have original ideas of its own. One of the original ideas it did is that it had a female protagonist in a post-apocalyptic action movie who kicked a lot of ass, before Fury Road. Now, then again, so did Tank Girl, but Tank Girl was a little more sexualized. I love Tank Girl. Would you ever shave the goatee and go full mustache? I don't know about full mustache. I'm more of a beard and goatee kind of guy than I am a mustache guy. Have you seen the new trailer for the Marvel Cloak and Dagger TV series? Oh shit, I missed this. I'll have to look it up. Okay, the Tank Girl film is a bad movie, but it is a bad movie I enjoy. And yes, it is nowhere near the actual comic character. No. Darren Aronofsky made a movie, Black Swan, which both Perfect Blue and Black Swan are based, or at least loosely inspired by the Black Swan ballet. And so I always kind of assumed when watching Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan movie that there was some inspiration from Perfect Blue in it, because you can kind of see it at some certain points. I'm a little all over the place. I'm sorry I didn't explain that well enough. Are you going to grow the My Bloody Valentine beard? I don't know if I have that in me. That is a very manly beard. Holy shit, an Adult Swim Tank Girl cartoon would be amazing. I would watch the shit out of that. Have you ever seen Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell? I don't believe I've seen that, no. That doesn't sound familiar. Oh yeah, Swan Lake, sorry. My brain and names. I, for some reason, have a shitty time remembering names. How well did you like I Am Not a Serial Killer? I liked that movie a lot. That was really good. I did a whole vlog on it. There needs to be a Left 4 Dead 3. I'd play the shit out of Left 4 Dead 3. Oh my god. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, I spent so many hours playing. Especially Left 4 Dead 1, back in college. Have you seen A Clockwork Orange? Yes. And if you're going to ask if I read the book, no, because that thing is fucking unreadable. Intentionally so. It's written in its own language. Have you seen the Nostalgia Critic? Yes. I have seen the Nostalgia Critic. I am on Channel Awesome. I'm on his site. Oh, Kendall, you're reading it? Oh, man, you're in for a good time. I really like half of it. Like, I really like everything involving the kids. And most of the adult stuff, like, even though it does continue the story, I'm not as a fond of the adult stuff. Like, I feel like it, the clown with the kids, is really where the heart of it is. When a movie's called It, it's really hard to talk about because you just keep saying it a lot. Do you think you and Jacula could do a metal-ass gaming crossover? I'm not exactly sure what that means. The Mist has not come up yet. Oh, favorite Nostalgia Critic episode. Oh, I'm not sure, to be honest. There's a lot of really good ones. I think the first one I watched was this isn't my favorite, but just because I can talk about this, I think the first one I remember watching was my friend ended up showing me the Rockadoodle episode, and that was like my gateway into the Nostalgia Critic. Do I have a VidMe account? No, but I'm thinking of creating one as a backup in case anything happens with YouTube. The Count Jacula Show says, your voice sounds like farting. Oh man, I hear that every day. Oh man, the Junior review was great. Guru, any plans for short films on your channel, like some of the other Channel Awesome guys? Maybe. I used to do short films in college, so I wouldn't be against it. I just need to have a good idea. Can you and Jacula and Stitch Together pics? I feel like you didn't complete the question, but I'm assuming you're saying crossover. And I would totally do a crossover with Stitch Together. I love Andy's work. The Longoliers Nostalgia Critic review. Yeah. I always feel like he's a little too harsh on Stephen King in general, but then again, most of the Stephen King adaptations he reviews are pretty awful, so. Would you do or have a collaboration with the Nostalgia Critic? Sure, if you wanted to. Usually us Channel Awesome producers don't go to him, he comes to us. Opinion on the Belko experiment. I fucking love the Belko experiment. The Belko experiment is a beautiful tapestry of brutality and, for lack of a better way of putting it, feels. Like, I was near tears throughout multiple moments in that movie because it just got my heartstrings pulled so hard. That's what I like about movies like The Belko Experiment. A lot of people get mad at them because they're so extreme, but them being that extreme is what allows me to have like a truly emotional reaction to them, because you watch a lot of horror films and you eventually get really desensitized to just normal deaths in horror movies. So to have a movie like The Belko Experiment come along where the deaths are extremely brutal, they're extremely unfair, and you really care about the characters beforehand, that shit starts to get to me. And that's what I want. I want to have an emotional reaction when I watch a movie. That's what art's for. Would you ever do a crossover with the Cinema Snob if you had a chance? Sure. Sure, I would. Which movie do you think has more, Evil Dead or Halloween 2? Are we talking deaths? Are we talking blood? What are we talking about? More what? Oh man, the original Berserk anime is great. I've heard the new one sucks balls though. Balls on toast. Hola, Lady Diskette. Crossover with Nostalgia Critic should be Hellraiser 3. I wouldn't be against it. Did you read the World War Z book? Yes, I did. It's also why I avoided the movie in theaters, because that movie looked like pure ass. Worst injury I've ever had. Okay, I have not ever like broken a bone or anything like that, but I when I was a little kid, I cut my hand on a can of tuna while throwing something into the garbage. Basically one of those, like, I put it in the garbage and it fell out, and so I picked it up and then pushed it into the garbage and ended up cutting my hand on a can of tuna. My hand ended up getting infected, and I ended up in the hospital for basically a month with this IV on me. And and you could see the infection like crawling through my vein on my arm. And the doctor is basically like, yeah, if that thing had reached your heart, you would have been dead. Like, that was probably one of the worst injuries I had. And all it was a simple fucking cut that got infected. Do you like Insane Clown Posse? I am not a big fan of Insane Clown Posse, but I do admire them. I used to have a much more negative opinion on them, but over time I've softened on that. Ever seen Howling 2 Steerbo Werewolf Bitch? Fuck yeah, I've seen that movie. It's incomprehensible, but I love it. Yeah, that tuna was dangerous. Yeah, I've been lucky in the regard that I haven't like broken a bone. Like even like back in my metalhead get in the pit, like knock people around, get knocked around days. I luckily not broken a bone. A lot of bruises, though. A lot of bruises. A lot of cuts. A lot of bleeding. Would you sometimes have living dead dolls in your back? You sometimes have living dead dolls in your background. Do you have more in your collection? All right. My background lately has been at Count Jacula's apartment. So most of the living dead dolls and things like that in the background are his. Or his wife's. Do I have a pet? Not anymore. My dog died 2 years ago. I do sometimes take care of my brother's dog, which is this big, lovable husky, but I haven't done that in a while. What's your favorite heavy metal band? Lamb of God. Ever seen Porno Holocaust? Oh shit, I haven't. I just realized I have never actually seen Porno Holocaust. I really need to do that. Are you looking forward to American Gods? Yes, American Gods is one of my favorite books, so I'm looking forward to the show. And I'm really hoping that they can expand upon some of the stuff that the book only touched upon, because despite the fact that it's called American Gods, the American Gods themselves don't actually play much of a factor in the actual story. So it'd be really cool if for the show they can expand upon that and give them way more of a bigger role. At least that's what I want. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Ever read the comic series American Vampire? Nope, can't say I have. Interestingly enough, there's neither porno nor a Holocaust in Porno Holocaust. That is tragedy. Favorite Lamb of God album? Ooh. Oh. As the Palaces Burn. As shitty as the production on that album is, I think I've listened to that album more than any other album they've done. Something about As the Palaces Burn just speaks to me. It also came out at the really perfect time. Went back when I was at my angriest, my most frustrated, my most politically pissed off. As the Palaces Burns was just the perfect album at the perfect time, and I can listen to it any day. My favorite heavy metal band is Iron Maiden. Rock on, Snaggletooth. Iron Maiden's great. Count Jacula is a Satanist, but what are you? I am an angry atheist. What is one movie you wish you directed? I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if there's any movie that... I'm not sure if it... Okay, if we're talking a movie I wish I directed because I thought I could do it better, I can't think of one. But if we're talking about I wish I made this movie exactly the way it is, I wish this was my movie, oh man, there's plenty of those. I felt that after watching Deathgasm. The director of Deathgasm, like that, I'm so jealous of that motherfucker because I wish I made that movie. That movie is so great. Do you listen to any of the albums from Death Clock? Yes, I love Death Clock. Are you a sexual tyrannosaurus? I don't know. That's for the ladies to know. And tell if they wish. Have you seen the TV show Metalocalypse? Hell fuck yeah. I used to watch that thing all the time. Have you read the Hack and Slash comics? I love the Hack and Slash comics. The problem with making a TV show or a movie out of Hack and Slash is that part of the fun of Hack and Slash is watching them fight like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface. And if you can't do that in the TV show, you'd have to... Basically, the only way you'd be able to get around that is if you were to just create, like, this is a Leatherface-like slasher, this is a Freddy-like slasher. You'd have to change a lot in order to make it a TV show. Now, if you could do that and still make it work, I'm down. But you'd have your work cut out for you. Dude, can we start a petition for Eli Roth to finally make Thanksgiving full length? Fuck yeah! I've been waiting for that for years! Were you a social outcast? Yes, I pretty much was. Kind of nerdy metalhead guy at a school that was literally across the street from a church. Yeah, I was a social outcast. Will we ever see a Blood Splattered Cinema review of Green Inferno? I haven't thought about it, but that's not a bad idea. My problem is that, like, dealing with copyright is already hard when I'm dealing with a lot of older movies, but people are a lot more lenient on it with the older movies. When it's a movie from, like, the last 10 years, trying to do the kind of big Blood Splattered Cinema episodes about it is, like, you're almost guaranteeing that, like, a takedown's going to come on my channel. So it's why I generally keep those to vlogs. I would totally watch Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS. Though I think of all those movies, Thanksgiving is the one I wanted the most because it seemed like the most like it could be a real movie. Were you ever in a band? If so, what instrument? No. My timing is terrible. So, like, any instrument I tried to pick up, including the guitar at one point, I was just never really good at. Ever seen Stay Tuned? Yes, I have seen Stay Tuned. That movie is fun as hell and stupid. It makes a great double feature with TerrorVision, by the way. But to go back to that question about the band, I wasn't in a band, but I had a lot of friends in bands. In fact, one of my friends used to be in Fallujah. But I think he was in Fallujah before Fallujah like got their big break, unfortunately. But yeah. Have you seen The Void? I have seen The Void. If you want to see my thoughts on it, I contributed to Count Jacula's vlog on it on his channel. We talked about the movie. I loved The Void. Oh shit, I forgot about The Void when someone asked me what my favorite movies were this year. Okay, so it's probably Get Out, followed by The Void, followed by The Belko Experiment. There we go. I heard Guru was an epic keyboard player. Oh, man. That'd be awesome. Least favorite Eli Roth film? Oh... That's hard to say simply because I've liked all his movies, but if I were to pick my least favorite, it would either be the original Cabin Fever or Knock Knock. And I like those movies, so that's not really, like, knocking them. Pumpkinhead vs. the Creeper. Oh, I got a root for Pumpkinhead, though I would totally watch that movie. As long as you don't get the director of of Jeepers Creepers involved, keep him out of it, and I'm totally down with that crossover. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Bogus Journey. Ooh. Ooh. I can't choose, man. That's too hard. That's too fucking hard. What do you think of Frozen? Not the Disney one. I'm assuming you're talking about the Adam Green Frozen, and I love the Adam Green Frozen. That movie is a great thriller. If we ever met, I'd teach you how to play guitar or bass. I can play Smoke on the Water. That's about it. That's not saying much. If a movie called High Impact Dolphin Murder Clown Orgy Fiesta, would you see it? Yes. I think it's safe to say I would. Already having fun with Doom? Okay, here's the sad part about this. I'm assuming you are the fan that actually donated Doom to Jack and I. My computer, unfortunately, can't play it. I tried, and it's like I have to play it in slow motion. So I've had to watch Jack play it for like the last few days, just sitting there like, motherfucker, I want to play this game. Yeah. So it's going to have to wait till I upgrade my computer at some point in time before I can play it. And I'm so sad about that because I was really excited to. In fact, that is the reason why I'm not like streaming me playing Overwatch a lot, because my computer can't handle me streaming Overwatch and playing it at the same time, which is too bad because I would love to stream me playing it because I play it all the fucking time. What defines horror movies in each decade? Ooh. Alrighty then. That is tough call. All right. God, how far do you want me to go back? All right. Right now, this last decade, we had a whole lot of a return of the religious kind of spooky ghost movies that turn out to be demon movies. That's basically been like the big defining feature of this decade. The previous decade was brutality. We had a whole lot of torture horror movies and a whole lot of movies that brought back like 70s style like graphic violence. Before that, it was all about the psychological thriller. It was all about these murder mystery / horror movies like Seven or Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that. And then before that, it was the slashers. And before that, it was religious horror movies again in the 70s. And in the 60s and 50s, you had a whole bunch of stuff, but mainly like the atomic monster movies. Like the giant ant has been transformed by the atomic age and stuff like that. The 60s also was the psychedelic age, so that's when you got like a whole bunch of like the Vincent Price movies where he was adapting a bunch. Well, he and Roger Corman were adapting a bunch of Edgar Allan Poe stories. So there you go. I could go back further probably, but I just the further back you go, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Have you ever had the misfortune of seeing Biodome? I fucking love Biodome. Okay, this is something that a lot of people don't know about me. I love really shitty 90s stoner movies. So Biodome is up there. I love Encino Man. I make no bones about it. I love it. It's stupid, but I love it. Do you think the Suspiria remake will be any good? I don't know. I'm withholding judgment until I see something for it. Have you or do you play Magic the Gathering? Back in high school, my friends were really into Magic the Gathering, and I played a little bit with them, but I never really got into it. Card games just really weren't my thing. While a lot of them were playing Magic the Gathering, I was playing like Diablo 2 online all the fucking time. Should there be a Jack Frost 3? I wouldn't be against it. I'd watch it. Have you ever seen Two Evil Eyes? Yes, I have. And if you want me to talk about it, I honestly don't remember much about it, but I know I've seen it. Oh, Son-in-Law. Yep, that's a movie. Thoughts on the It remake? Okay, my thoughts are pretty simple. I was on board with the trailer until the jump scare at the end. What I'm really worried about is that it looks like the kids seem perfect. The town seems perfect. Even the kind of moody aesthetic seems perfect. But I'm worried they're trying a little too hard with Pennywise himself. And I'm also worried that they're going to rely a little too much on jump scare kind of stuff. Hopefully that's just something they did with the trailer and there's actually more to it. I'm hoping that that Pennywise himself actually has a personality and isn't a silent monster. Obviously we won't know that until we get more footage and stuff like that isn't just a teaser, but like I'm really worried that they're going to have him just not talk the whole time. And that's something I really hated about the last Chucky movie. Curse of Chucky had Chucky like whisper everything the whole time, and I like my Chucky yelling and screaming and being a crazy monster. So I hope they don't do that with Pennywise. I want Pennywise to actually have a personality. Are you a fan of the band Ghost? I am a huge fan of the band Ghost, and I'm really disheartened to see what's happening with them right now. I really hope... I guess there's probably no way they're ever going to come back together and make amends for this anytime soon, but like, it's really sad to see them fall apart like this, and it seems to be Papa Emeritus's fault, which makes it even more disheartening. Pennywise looks like Jimmy Neutron if he became a juggalo. Oh man, that is the tweet of the stream right there, right there. Hands down, tweet of the stream. Alrighty then, I think I'm going to go for another half an hour, and then we're going to call it a quit. So if anyone's got any last minute questions, go for it. All right, have any of you seen Cheech and Chong movies? Yes, I love Cheech and Chong movies. I am a huge fan of stoner comedies, and Cheech and Chong's are classics. Oh, happy birthday, Lou Rivers. Blah. Speaking. What is that? The moment I start stumbling over my words like that, I'm clearly reaching my limit. Favorite Japanese horror film? Ooh, favorite. I want to say Audition, but there might be a movie I'm forgetting. But Audition's the first one that comes to my head, so I'm going with it. Rate Luke's hair from 1 to I'll worship you forever. I'm assuming you're talking about Luke from Rocked Reviews, and I rate it I'll worship him always. Which movie monster would you want to play? Oh, I don't know. Probably one that gets me in these really awesome heavy prosthetics. I'd be totally down with that. Oh, favorite Korean movie? Ooh. It's a toss-up between Old Boy or I Saw the Devil. A few years ago, I probably would have said Old Boy, but over time, I think I Saw the Devil has gone up even farther in my regard. That's not to knock Old Boy. Old Boy is just as perfect as it's ever been. That's just to say how I Saw the Devil. Have you seen Dave Chappelle? I'm assuming you're talking about the new Dave Chappelle special on Netflix, and that is amazing. It's actually two specials. There's two new specials on Netflix for Dave Chappelle. One from a few years ago, and one from this. Can you guys hear me now? All right. As I was saying, I love the new Dave Chappelle specials. They're fantastic. Best use of the hammer, Old Boy or Raid 2? Oh, shit. I got to give this one to Raid 2. I got to give this... Sorry, Old Boy, but Raid 2, that hammer sequence is amazing. Thoughts on Death Proof? Okay, I love Death Proof. My only complaint with Death Proof is that it should have been the first in the Grindhouse. It should have been before Planet Terror. Because it builds up. And so then by the time you get to Planet Terror, it's completely action. So I feel like they just kind of messed up with the order of the two movies. But I love Death Proof. I'm not one of those people who get bored with that movie. I could actually sit there and watch that movie all day. I love watching Tarantino dialogue, even when it's pointless. Thoughts on the Spike Lee remake of Old Boy? Pointless, I guess is the best way I could put it. There are parts of it that are okay, but overall, you're sitting there going yeah, there's really no reason for this movie to exist. Favorite Del Toro movie? Ooh, The Devil's Backbone. I love The Devil's Backbone. Should there be a Dredd 2? Fuck yeah, there should be a Dredd 2. All right, I already said my thoughts on the new MST3K season. I am currently on the 3rd episode, and I'm loving it so far. Why did Spike Lee give Charlton Copley a bad French accent? I don't know. It's one of those weird creative decisions that make no sense. Jeepers Creepers. Yes, I have seen Jeepers Creepers. And I kind of like Jeepers Creepers up until the moment where the monster's revealed. That being said, Jeepers Creepers has a whole baggage of the fact that the guy who made that movie is kind of a creepy pedophile, and though honestly, that infects Jeepers Creepers 2 more than it does 1. Have you read Marvel Zombies? Yes, I have read some of it. Oh. Are we back now? Can you get... Okay, cool. Yogi, what's your take on the ending of The Wailing, and would you have done it any differently if you were in the director's chair? Ooh. I honestly don't know. That is a very heavy question, and for some reason my brain's not up to answering it right now. I'm not sure. Do you think The Exorcist 3 could be considered superior to the original? Superior? No. But is it way better than all the other sequels? Yes. The original Exorcist is perfect. Thoughts on Voltron Legendary Defender on Netflix? Do you like the new version of The Lion Crew? I actually really like that. I enjoyed it. It's pure cheesy fun, but when I just need to shut my brain off and just enjoy something a little lighthearted for a bit, like that new Voltron show is perfect. In fact, I really need to catch the new season. I saw the whole first season. I haven't caught the new one. Oh, man. So much shit to catch up on. Did you check out the Exorcist TV show? I did not because the trailer looked really bad, but I heard really good things about it, so hopefully I'll catch it at some point. Arrow Video or Scream Factory? Ooh. I like the Scream Factory covers more than the Arrow covers. But but Arrow has been putting a whole lot of extra content in most of their movies. So it's a bit of a toss-up for me. I'm not entirely sure which one I like better. Have you ever seen Cruising 1980? Yes, I have. I have seen Cruising. Oh, Society's Arrows release is amazing. That probably trumps any release by anybody right now. Best performance in a horror film? I don't know, dude. Which movie do you wish that you had worked on the effects crew on? Okay, this is really weird, but The Blob from 1988. I wish I had done some of the effects for that movie because that would have been an awesome movie to be a part of. You'd think I would say The Thing. You'd think I would say The Fly. But no, I'm going with The Blob. What's your thoughts on The Undertaker retiring? End of an era, man. I haven't watched wrestling in a good 10 years, but I used to be really into it back in the Attitude Era. And back then, that was when The Undertaker was like reigning fucking supreme. So to see him retire, it definitely pulls my heartstrings a little bit because he was always one of my favorites. Him, Mankind, The Rock, Stone Cold, like those were my dudes. Thoughts on Robert De Niro as Louis Cypher in Angel Heart? It's a great performance. I don't know what more thoughts you need. Whatever happened to Rob Zombie's supposed remake of The Blob? Much like with a bunch of remakes that we've had announced these last few years, like the problem with a lot of the online movie related press is that they will go and run with stories for any little leak or rumor they have. So the productions might not actually be far enough ahead for it to actually be a real thing, and we'll be hearing about it. So we heard about Rob Zombie doing The Blob before anything was actually finalized. So it basically, like a lot of these other projects we hear about, it fell through. Like something else happened. He went on and made Lords of Salem instead. Now, there might actually be more stories behind that, but I would actually have to ask Rob. And I don't know about you, but I don't have him on speaker dial. Have you seen the Irish film Grabbers? I love Grabbers. Grabbers is like I feel like it's like an Irish remake of Tremors, and it's just as fun. No, I don't think he would have been a great person to remake the Blob either, to be honest. In fact, if you want the movie that I feel like Rob Zombie should have remade, it was Clown House. No, Fun House. He should remake Fun House. Toby Hooper's Fun House by Rob Zombie. mark my words, that would be a masterpiece. Oh, thank you, Jacob. I feel like I'm just kind of stumbling over my words and just being really fucking nervous and fidgety right now. So I'm glad that it's working. I'm glad that the stream is entertaining it despite that. Eli Roth Blob remake? I would watch that. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know honestly who would be perfect to remake the Blob, but I would watch his. He would probably be better suited than Rob Zombie, but even then, I don't know who would be perfectly suited. Now, if you tell me that like Greg Nicotero wanted to remake the Blob, I'd be all over that shit. No, there you go. If one of the effects guys who wanted to direct stuff decided they wanted to make it, then I'd be in it. Then I'd be all over it. Takashi Miike Blob remake. You know, the problem with putting Takashi Miike remake on anything is that Takashi Miike remaking anything sounds amazing. Like, if you say Takashi Miike's Care Bears, I'd be all over it. It doesn't matter what he's remaking. I would watch it. Yeah, Savini did a great job with the Night of the Living Dead remake. In fact, I feel like there's a lot of what he did with that actually improved the original, as much as I love the original. I know that's kind of blasphemy to say because the original Night of the Living Dead is such a classic, but some of the stuff that Savini did, particularly with the female character, I actually thought were improvements. That's right, he did remake that, yeah. Yeah, Takashi Miike's Gone with the Wind. See? Don't you want to see that now? Do you think Eli Roth should act more? I loved him mostly from Inglourious Basterds. I'd totally be down. I think he's a pretty solid actor. You know, I don't know what his range would be. Like, he'd really have to test it before we would know if he could do like super serial, really like intense roles. But he definitely proved that he can at least do like really cool parts, like in Inglourious Basterds. Yeah, Tony Todd was great in the Night of the Living Dead remake. Yeah. Well, the problem with Arrow Video is that it's originally a UK-based distributor and then eventually expanded to North America. So a lot of people are just kind of being exposed to them now. But Arrow does some really great stuff. If you're like me and you've been collecting a whole lot of Scream Factory stuff, then like collecting Arrow is, I feel like that should be done too because they do a lot of great stuff. They do a lot of great stuff. I'm just repeating myself. What horror movie would make a great transition to video game form? Ooh, that's interesting. Usually people ask the opposite question. I don't know. I feel like with most video games, if you want to do a really good game, you can't just base it on a single horror movie. You got to do what Dead Space or Silent Hill did, where they took a whole bunch of horror movies and combined them into their own thing. At least that's what I think you should do. Mr. Horror Guru, you never answered my question. Sorry, Moth Angel. The first pair of boobs you ever saw in a horror movie. Holy shit, what were the first pair of boobs I saw in a horror movie? I don't know about horror movie, but I can tell you the first pair of boobs I saw in any movie. And the first pair of boobs I saw in any movie was Lethal Weapon 2. It is the sex scene between Martin Riggs and that, I think the South African girl. They have sex, and then the dude shows up and kills her, and that's always stuck with me because there's the first pair of tits I ever saw in a movie, or at least that I remember seeing. I don't know about horror movie though. I'd have to think about that. It's like trying to remember what the first horror movie I saw was. I'm never quite sure what it was. Feels like horror's always been in my blood. Thoughts on the Wolf Creek movies? I love Wolf Creek, and I fucking love Wolf Creek 2, and I still need to see the show. I haven't seen the show yet. First ever naked woman I saw was in Hot Dog, the movie. Nice. Greatest Scream Queen ass. Well, I think if you bring up Scream Queens, I gotta go with Danielle Harris because she is gorgeous. But I don't know if she actually has the greatest ass, but she's always been one of my favorites. I literally, like, back when I was a kid and I first started getting into slasher movies, like when I was in grade school and I first started collecting all of the Halloween movies, on VHS, I had the biggest crush as a kid with little Danielle Harris in those movies. And then as I got older, like I saw The Last Boy Scout and she was 13 around the same time I was 13. And then I became an adult and she was in Halloween and she showed her tits for the first time. And it's been love ever since. I love Danielle Harris. Would you ever do a Jackbox live stream? Maybe. I'm pretty sure my computer could handle that. Have you seen Blood Creek with Michael Fassbender? I have seen that. I have seen that. I remember liking it. First movie tits for me was Revenge of the Nerds. Nice. Oh, Jennifer Tilly. You see, the thing is, Jennifer Tilly would win if you ask who the best Scream Queen tits are. I think you can't beat those. What's the worst cliche in horror? Whoa, Robert! Thank you so much for the donation, man. Spawn, dark rated, dark R rated. Any thoughts? All right, I contend this. I feel like, in my opinion, Zack Snyder was given the wrong franchise. Zack Snyder shouldn't be doing Superman. He should not be doing Justice League. He is a visualist and a guy who likes dark, nihilistic storytelling. So why isn't he doing Spawn? Zack Snyder's Spawn. That seems like, to me, that would be a no-brainer and a perfect fit. Why not that? That's my argument for a dark-rated Spawn. Give it to Zack Snyder, take him away from Justice League, give that to someone else. I'm still not sure what the worst horror cliche would be. I'm off the top of my head. I'm having a hard time. I know it's a really weird one, but I always like. I hate that these days we always have to have that scene where like the phone doesn't work. But like, what are you supposed to do? Like, almost any horror situation can be ended by just calling someone. So you have to have that scene. But I always get like a little cringe. I always cringe every time I see one. Thoughts on Green Room? Yeah. I love Green Room. I don't know if you watched my top 10 films of last year, but it was on there because I loved Green Room. Oh, Trev Apocalypse. I wish I was looking forward to the Justice League. The only thing I'm really looking forward to is Aquaman, because I love James Wan, and I am really excited to see Jason Momoa as Aquaman because he looks like he's having a blast in that role. I'm also looking forward to Wonder Woman, but like we'll see if that movie lives up to its potential. I have a little more faith in James Wan just as a horror fan. Do you think One Missed Call could work on a Skype type movie? Maybe. I would imagine if you were to make a One Missed Call sequel now, that's probably the direction you should probably go with it. But that's just me. Alrighty then, we have about like 7 more minutes, guys. So what are your last few questions? Was the phone cut cliche pre 1960 though? I know it was done pretty well in Wait Until Dark. Honestly, the phone getting cut, the power line, the phone getting cut in movies didn't bother me so much as how we always have to find a way to cut cell phones out, and that just might be because I love older horror movies that it's a newer trope and it just rubs me the wrong way. But it shouldn't because I don't know. I think that's just me being grumpy old man. What is your favorite urban legend that actually scares you? That one. That one where the person thinks their dog is licking their fingers, but it actually is a person underneath there, and their dog is dead. That one always creeps me out because I used to go to sleep and let my dog lick my fingers and stuff. So that one hit a little close to home. What is your opinion on Scream 4? Okay, I love Scream. I love Scream 2. I think 3 and 4 are messes that have good moments. My big problem with Scream 4 is that it felt like the whole motivation behind it was just a retread of Scream 2. So I was kind of hoping it would bring more to it. And here's the other thing. I kind of wish that the horror nerd in that movie, the girl, was the main character and that Clarice wasn't in it at all. Or not Clarice. Blah. Names. Blah. I'll remember the name eventually. Are there any creepypastas that scare you? Not really. Most of the creepypastas don't have an effect on me. I think I was too old when they first started becoming a thing. Favorite Stephen King adaptation? Carrie. Carrie. Definitely Carrie. Welcome, Grayson Voorhees. Top 5 Godzilla movies question, someone asked earlier. Okay, top 5 Godzilla movies. Oh, man. Apostolos, I'm so sorry if I completely mispronounced your name, but thank you so much for the donation. All right, top 5 Godzilla movies. All right. Let me think about this. All right, so it would probably be, and I'm not going to put this in any particular order because trying to order them will drive me crazy, but Destroya is definitely one of my favorites. I love Destroya. God damn it. Let's, fuck. I love Biolante. Biolante is awesome. I know it's not called that, but I always remember it as Godzilla versus the Blob. My brain always fucking forgets what it's actually called. I love the original Godzilla, obviously. Fuck. God, what the name of it was. I forget it. It was one of the 2000s movies where there's that guy who is writing, and I think like either the remnants or what will eventually become Mechagodzilla, and he sacrifices himself to defeat Godzilla. I can't remember what that one was called, but I remember really loving that one. Godzilla versus Hedorah. Yes, that is the one. That is the Godzilla versus the Blob one. I love that one. You know, the funny part is, if I were to actually go down the list of all the Godzilla movies, it would probably be completely different 5 movies. I'm just going by the ones that pop up in the top of my head. What do you think of the R.L. Stine Fear Street books? And do you think they could be adapted into horror movies today? I'm not sure if I'm familiar with the Fear Street books. I mean, I read the old Goosebumps books, but I don't remember Fear Street, to be honest. If you were going to die in a horror movie, what would be the most perfect way for you to go? Oh, if I'm going to die in a horror movie, I want to be one of those guys who dies like having sex, because if you're going to die, you might as well die doing the best thing ever. That's all I'm saying. It's the ultimate horror death. If you die in the act of sex in a horror movie, that's the perfect death, as far as I'm concerned. Final Wars is great, but Final Wars is not the one I was talking about. Fear Street was like Goosebumps for teens. Oh, I somehow missed this one. I don't know how I missed it. Oh, well. Favorite Friday the 13th movie? Oh, yes. The New Blood. I know it is the one that is hacked to shit by the MPAA, but Jason versus Carrie, I love those sequences. Plus, it has my favorite design for Jason in it. All right, my fellow Gorehounds, I think it is about time for me to close the stream up. And I want to thank all of you for coming out here today. I know you have many more questions, so maybe I'll do another Q&A stream at some point because goddamn if you guys got many fucking messages for me. But yeah, 10,000 subscribers. Thank you all for your super chat donations, and thank you all for your questions, and thank you all for coming out to celebrate with me. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. Peace out.